Arts, man.
How has that affected you, or how has that shifted things for you?
It's just made me much more focused, much more, to do orientated. I don't just lapse into, the fuzz of, just lockdown.
Life.
Oh my God, it's 6 o'clock already. It's like,
Yeah, it does. Like I mean, this is not proven, but it affects when it affects your dopamine. A lot of people talk about the neurotransmitters in the brain, and most people know dopamine's a reward system and things like that. But that's the part of the brain that it stimulates is also the part of your brain that codes time and understands how time's coded. So when you're increasing your dopamine, it actually makes you feel like you've got more time, because it calms, it's calming the anxiety and things. So it has all these knock-on effects. So once you establish a practice and you start breathing efficiently, all of a sudden you're like, I feel like I got a little bit more time. And that it only takes for you to have like the tiniest, from where you are now, the tiniest feeling of it, and then all of a sudden you feel like you got more space and more time, and
yeah,
that obviously has psychological knock-on effects from that, and it's only incremental shift. I think that one of the biggest things that we found is that the more you establish a practice, then you get these little benefits, but then it's easy for you to go, oh, that's just how I feel now, and and our personality takes over, and we start discounting what we're doing. And I think that there's this constant seesaw of like, you get better and then you kind of just think, oh, this is the way it is, right? And then it's easy to slip back. So we found that with this stuff is that it'll help you evolve your thinking. It'll help you evolve your personality in a way that you become more aware. Use it, because if you don't, just because you're doing the breathing, it'll make you feel better, but it's easy for you to ignore the benefits that you're getting from it. It's really interesting in that way, like, because we meet a lot of people that will have a practice, but then they kind of just fall off the wagon and stop. And you're like, what happened? And they're like, oh, I don't know, I wasn't doing anything anymore. It's like, really? So there's lots of little surprises that can come up in amongst it all, for sure. So
Welcome, Ziva. I think I saw Angela come on as well. I don't know if she's disappeared for a quick second, but we're just having a little chat until we come to start time.
have
I'm
you
gonna go ahead and start.
have you gone live,
I'm
Angie?
going to do that
Okay.
now. Oh, I wonder if you have to make me co-host, love.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. Hi, Louise. Good to see ya. Rita.
You already co-host, Angie.
Oh,
Yeah. Maybe
who moved my cheese?
is it in there in the more tab?
I don't have more on mine.
All right, hang on. Let me make you host,
Okay.
because I can still run the music and stuff.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Okay, you
Mm-hmm,
got it.
mm-hmm. Got it. All right, we're setting it up now. How you going, Louise?
Oh, okay, everyone's coming in. We'll just give them a couple of minutes to come in, and then
Sure.
okay, for you guys that are in here, if we do know you, great. If we've spoken to you over email or over text, it's great to be able to see your faces and have an opportunity to see. Just go ahead in the chat box, just write in there, where you're from. I know that we've got people from all over the world, and especially some people from Europe coming in. So just drop that in the chat for us. Oh, you already hit record, Angie?
Yep.
Okay. Take some sighs while you're getting ready.
We always do while we're waiting. All right, so Elena from Prague, Simon, London, Ziva, Slovenia, but living in Norway.
Oh,
That's from my
wow.
family
All right.
from Norway, Denmark, Norway.
Andres from
Very cool.
UK as well.
UK.
Perfect.
Oh,
we got
fabulous.
Europeans on here.
Yeah.
This is amazing.
I think it's good that we're doing really early here in Australia because Louise, you're here in our time zone and you're getting an early morning breather before the weekend takes up.
All right. Well,
it is. Yeah.
While people come in, Angie, we'll get started and into what we're going to be talking about. So Angie's going to drive from where she's sitting, and we're gonna chop back and forward. So welcome everyone. Thank you for spending the time to come in and breathe with us. Before we get into breathing, we'll do a quick intro for people that don't know us. And then also we're going to then just talk about breathing and why breathing. Particularly for me, I'm going to talk about why this is about the breathing, but why it's not really about the breathing. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. Then we're going to talk briefly about some of the mechanics and some of the chemistry that goes along with breathing and why it's important. And then we're going to have a breathing session from there. And then at the end of it, we're going to talk a little bit about how you can come and participate with us and join in with us. There'll be a few options there for you to be able to do that. So if everyone's okay with that, we will get started. So everyone's still coming in. So we've got people from Europe. As you come in, if you just want to let us know where you're from and anything else, keep the chat going throughout the time. If you've got questions, chuck them in the chat box, and we'll have an opportunity at the end to answer any questions. You guys can come on and ask us any questions.
Yeah. So I see Marcia, Jen, Angela. Welcome. Just let us know where you're coming in from. Angela, I think you're coming in from California. Jen, you're coming in from, is it the ACT, Australia? Let us know. So setting the stage for this session, here's the rhythm of how it's going. Like what Shane mentioned, we are going to give kind of like the how and why and what around it. And then we're going to, like, the magic is in the breathing session. And one of the reasons why we're going to start running these more often is because we feel like it's really important that people take the time for themselves to break out of their current rhythm, to have a little bit of a reset, to let go of some clutter that might be in the scrambled human software. And we call it clearing of the cache. So that's what this session is designed for. And then we'll share with you how you can keep it going.
Cool. All right. So the first thing that I want to mention is what often happens to us is we get into these hypnotic rhythms. So everyone kind of understands and kind of knows that your thinking often is where you focus, and where your thinking goes is kind of how your life turns out. Now, while that's a big concept, it's actually steeped in the rhythm of our breathing. So this is kind of like where the rubber meets the road, or it's probably, I would say it's the first place that you can look to get some physical clues as to why you're behaving the way you are, or why life's turning out the way it is for you, or things like this. So if we look at the hypnotic rhythm that we're given to, so to dig a little bit deeper into rhythm, everything in the universe cycles and has rhythms. If you look at the way the planets move, you look at the way the sun and the moon move around the planet, and then understand how that affects your rhythms as well. You've got a wake-sleep cycle. That's a natural rhythm that happens. You then have these rhythmic actions in the body. You have one of the most obvious rhythms in your body is your breathing. Your breathing is a cyclical rhythm that goes round and round. Your body then has rhythms with its blood pH. It has rhythms with the circulation. So there's all these rhythms that are happening. And so if we look at our breathing as a rhythm, our breathing is intimately connected to our nervous system. And most of us know that our nervous system is like one of the major proponents or the major aspects of how we function, and it's really the bridge that we have between the body and the mind. And this whole body mind connection has been like something, I guess, to the Western world really elusive, and then to the Eastern cultures. If you guys have had any practice in yoga or any of the Eastern kind of arts, even into martial arts and things like that, you'll know that they have a very, very big focus on you being able to be connected in this way with your body and your mind. And I think Western science is now starting to catch up. We're starting to see a real rise in people starting to understand now that it's no longer good enough for us just to be focusing on sickness. Like our medical system here in the West focuses on sickness. You only go to a doctor if you're sick. Nobody takes any notice of anything until they're sick. It's a very reactive way of looking at things. So, Angie and I, one of our biggest passions has always been like, how do we focus on health? Like, rather than getting sick, how do we look at intervening before that happens? And in the pursuit and in looking at focusing on health, what we discovered was not only has it been that we've avoided going to doctor's surgeries, we've avoided the flus and the things that go around. Like for years and years, Angie and I have been avoiding this, and we're asking ourselves a question: well, what's the difference? Like, what are we doing that other people are not? Well, there's been a couple of things that we've noticed. One is that we take lengths to keep our stress low. We understand the difference between what is good stress and what is bad stress for us, and understanding how to balance those two out in our body. The second thing that we've really focused on and discovered is that the keys to this whole thing are with the nervous system. So immune health and nervous system health, both are probably two of the easiest areas for you to be able to get yourself to a state where you're existing and you're feeling happiness on a regular basis, or you're feeling satisfaction. Now, I'm not a big proponent or big fan of you should be happy all the time. I just don't think that that's true. You're human. You're going to feel cyclically. By nature, you're going to feel times where you don't feel happy. There's going to be times where you're going to be frustrated. There's going to be times when you are going to be angry. This is all true for being human. It's just how you react to it, and it's how you notice that you have these cycles that happen with it. So it's a very pragmatic view of how we look at it. And tied into the central theme of all of this is the breathing rhythm. The breathing rhythm, for me, when I looked at it, the first thing that stood out when I looked at the breathing rhythm was that, wow, it's one of the only systems, if not the only system in the body that you can take out of its automatic function and put it into manual drive. So you can actually intervene in your breathing system. Now, if we take that one step deeper, what we have is we have a double-edged sword with this. Okay, so you can take your breathing out of automatic and put it in a manual, but then if you are not paying attention to it, that can also start to mess with your blood chemistry. So we have this double-edged sword here, where it's something that you can change and you can take charge of, but also you want to have the automatic part of it actually functioning in the right way. So there's this really interesting interplay between making sure that when you're not thinking about your breathing's efficient. right? You're getting the proper gas exchange in your body. Your body's retaining the right amount of CO2, because the right amount of CO2 and the right amount of O2 means that your blood pH stays intact, and your blood pH, that's the essence of your body being healthy. It also affects your mental and emotional states as well. So we have, you know, just because you have a breathing practice, just because you may go to yoga and do some pranayama, or maybe you've got another breathing practice, maybe you're doing one of the more modern types of practices that are around. Just because you're doing that practice does not necessarily mean that you're doing it in a healthy way for you. Right? You can be doing a breath practice, but still putting these gases out of balance in your body. So there's these more intricate processes that come into having your breathing. And so I think the story for us is really, and the point of me kind of going in this roundabout loop, is that we look at you breaking that hypnotic rhythm first. So understanding if your breathing is giving you energy or if your breathing is taking energy away from you. That's a first step to understand which is which. The second step then is to restore your natural breathing instinct. So what I mean by that is breathing and respiration are not the same thing. Breathing we can term here as the mechanical version of breathing, you know, what you do when you breathe in, out, pause. This is the mechanical version. Your respiration is what happens with the gas exchange in your body to do with your body pH. So we've got these two separate things that we're looking at. So when we look at, first off, breaking the hypnotic rhythm, that is understanding, am I breathing dysfunctionally? How is this dysfunctional breathing affecting how I think, and therefore my actions that I get, you know, how I turn up, how I show up, how I am in relationships. You know, long-term breathing dysfunctions can also start to alter your personality. You basically, if you have a breathing dysfunction and you don't ever check in on it, you can be an angry drunk, like without drinking alcohol. It's basically what you'll behave like, right? And if any of you have ever gone, wow, like I just can't believe, like, why am I snapping, or, you know, how did I turn up like that, or why do I constantly feel anxious or overwhelmed or irritated by people? Well, it could be that you're just having a moment where you're breathing dysfunctionally and then putting your body chemistry out of place.
Let us know if you can relate to that, though. Like type in the chat box or raise your hand. Yes, I can relate to just being angry and kind of not knowing why. It's like, you know, when you can't find a pin and all of a sudden you crack it and go angry at it. Like these little subtleties are the telltale signs.
And so if we bring back to then restoring this natural breathing instinct, what I mean by that is you are starting to identify the unconscious breathing habits that you have. So unconscious being just things that you do without, when you're not thinking about it, or the way you breathe when you're not thinking about your breathing, is bringing that out into the open and then reprogramming it and establishing something that is back into the natural instinct. So that is that when you're not thinking about it, your body is naturally breathing in a way that's starting to keep your pH in balance. Now, you know, when you do things like anything, when you focus on something, when you do exercise, when you're speaking, when you're doing anything like that, you are going to get that balance is going to alter to match the demands of what you're putting out. However, when your system is efficient, you'll be able to speak, you'll be able to exercise heavy, you'll be able to do all of these sorts of things while keeping that balance in place. And that is ultimately what's important. That is ultimately a foundation of health and strength in the body. So really, I've seen some questions come up here, so I want to answer some of them. Someone just asked about affecting the adrenal system. 100%. This is, you know, just without going too deep into the chemistry of it, your blood pH is really balancing of it is a process of two things in the body. It's carbon dioxide, so CO2, and the bicarbonate, so the salts in your blood. They are what dictate how the oxygen moves in and out of your blood and moves in and out of the tissues in your blood. So, and as you know, the adrenal glands sit on top of the kidneys, and your blood sugar regulates. So your blood sugar is related to your pH. Your blood sugar is regulated by cortisol. A lot of people don't often know that connection, but your blood sugar is regulated by cortisol. So when you are highly adrenalized, which let's face it, we're all highly adrenalized. If we're living in the Western world and we've got jobs and we're trying to pay mortgages and we're doing, and we've got bills coming in, we're going to be adrenalized in some way, shape, or form, because our environment dictates it to us. So it does, being able to regulate your hormonal system is a function of the nervous system. And so therefore breathing directly impacts the adrenal system. With some of the clients that I have, are running pretty significant size businesses. And one of the major kind of milestones that they make when I'm working with them is that they shift from adrenalized energy to natural energy. And how I term that is that they're shifting across from needing to be go, drive into getting the same result by relaxing into it, so that they're achieving the same results, but their nervous system is not taking the hit in the process of it. Okay, so if you're able to achieve the same results that you're getting right now, but your nervous system is not revving on red all the time, it's actually lowered down. And Simon, this comes back into what I was speaking about earlier, when we were talking before we went on, about kind of like how this, it starts to create this area where you're getting the neurotransmitters in the brain are starting to release in the right amount. So we were talking about dopamine. This is one of those knock-on effects. When you start to produce your hormones in the right balance in your body, all of a sudden you just start feeling better. It's a byproduct of doing it, and your body adapts, and you're in consequence of that, what happens is, Angie and I did a podcast on this, but you are basically building up a resilient shield. Like pressures and things will come on you, and it just won't affect you the way it affected you. If your reactivity levels are up here, then you've only got that much space to react. If your reactivity levels are down here, when you get a pressure or a stress on you, then you've got time. You kind of take a breath, and you're like, oh, okay. And things will come to you like, okay, what sort of lesson am I being taught here? Or, what do I need to let go around this? How can I look at this a different way? Is this happening to me for a reason? Like, what was it that I did to get this knock-on effect? So you have time to ask yourself those kind of questions, rather than just flying off the handle into reactivity. And as we know, most of us, when we fly off the handle, it's often not the healthy side of things that we get into. So I wonder if my pH is off from just
very
getting
passionate about
getting that all out.
I know. So I just sent you a private message saying,
Angie's like, let's just breathe.
Let's breathe.
I was getting high from that. Sorry. I was getting high from...
No, that's all good. So here's what I'd like to do now. I'd like to just check in with you and take stock with how you're feeling now. So we like to think of it like, we seem to be more concerned about the energy levels of our battery life on our devices, like our computers and our phones, than we are about our own personal battery life. So in this session, I want to bring a little bit of attention to our own battery life. How is our battery level right now? If you were to have like a screen that says that you're like fully charged or depleted, where is it on a scale of 1 to 10? So 1 being like you just want to crawl back into bed and throw the cushion or the blankets over your head and spend the rest of the day doing that, depleted. Or a 10 being like energized, fully alive, ready to take live on, clear and focused. Where are you right now? Put in the chat box, where are you? What number? What's the first number that comes to mind? 5? Cool. Thank you, Simon. Shane, you're muted. 3, Helen. 84. Dumb. 8, since it's, oh yeah, it's late where you are. Jen, 4. Yep. And then 3, 5, 7. Just finished boot camp, Dom.
Dom,
I am not
be
surprised.
Good.
This will be good recovery session for you. Yeah, Elena, it's nearly midnight for you, so it's like 5. Yep. Okay.
Yeah. Cool.
Got it.
All right.
Good. So, during this breathing session, the main points to remember is just to relax, breathe, and follow along with how we're going to guide you through a little bit of a reset, and we'll check in with how you're doing at the end of it.
Awesome. So if you have never breathed with us before, or you have, I'll give you a basic overview of the shapes. We use 3 particular shapes. We use a triangle, a square, and a circle. And what we mean by using those shapes is that you will just breathe in a pattern with those shapes. So if at any stage you hear me referring to any of those shapes, you just know that that's the shape that your breath is going to be in. You know, a triangle is in, out, pause, with a pause at the bottom. The square is in, pause, out, pause, and we'll do a count in that. And the circular breath is just connecting the inhale to the exhale. So there's no gaps, no pauses. Imagine sighing and just connecting it together. So they're the three basic shapes that we'll use in here. I'll give you some other instructions while we're in there. Let's go ahead right now and find it. So just sit and find your space. So what I mean by find your space is space between your ribs and your hips, space in your jaw. So just allow your jaw to drop down, space in between your shoulder blades. So allow the relaxation to happen in between your shoulder blades, and feel that your spine is strong. So not stiff, just strong means that it's got some flex in it. You feel like you're sitting in a really comfortable position. And what we'll get you to do first up is just take a couple of silent sighs. So it's drawing the breath in through the nose and letting it out. And notice how your body moves during those silent sighs. So keep doing them. Just drawing the breath in through the nose, let it out through the mouth, and notice the movement that happens in your body. Now bring your awareness to your forehead and just let your forehead relax. Allow your tongue to relax. Now let's bring the breathing into a triangle shape. So inhaling for the count of 1, 2, 3. Exhale. 1, 2, 3. Pause. 1, 2, 3. So just follow that around. Make the triangle suit your breathing right now. So inhale for what feels natural. Exhale in a natural way, and then pause naturally. What you may notice when we first start the breathing is you still may notice that there may be some thoughts racing around, there may be some discomfort in the body. Focus on the shape. Focus on letting the exhale go. What you may find is that you start to yawn, and that's okay. That's your body starting to balance itself out. So if you feel a yawn coming on, just allow your body to yawn. Get out of the way of it. Don't try and control it. Notice where it takes you. Where does it take you? Does it make you open your jaw right up? Does it make you arch your back, open your hands? See how you go with yawning and relaxing into the yawn. drawing the breath in through the nose, let it go out through the mouth. We keep this as a standard. In through the nose, out through the mouth is a standard. If you like to go in through your nose and out through your nose, then do that as well. What you may notice is breathing in and out through the nose. Also, as you exhale, it creates this nice little air cushion. It's like a back pressure that helps you breathe more efficiently. So if you do feel comfortable going in and out through the nose, that's the best way to be breathing. Now let's bring our attention and our awareness to the pause at the bottom. And what we'll do in the pause is notice if you're allowing the next breath to come in, or notice if you're trying to take the next breath, or you're trying to snatch it, or if you feel uneasy if you leave the pause go for a little longer. But notice if you can do a really smooth baton change. Imagine a really smooth interchange between pausing, so letting the exhale go, pausing, and then allowing the next inhale to happen. This is specifically how we start to rebalance or reinstate the natural breathing instinct, because you're allowing your breathing to happen. If you haven't already done so, close your eyes. Relax your eyes behind your eyelids. Sometimes it's comfortable to bring your awareness and focus just in between your eyebrows and rest your eyes. And sometimes it's comfortable just to let your eyes go altogether and allow them to melt like ice blocks behind your eyelids, totally relaxed. Now, while keeping your spine strong and some movement in your spine, notice that your shoulders can become heavy, your hands can become heavy, and relax the rest of your body. And notice how the breath moves your body. You can get a nice gentle rocking action as your breath moves your body. Now play with the size of the triangle or shape. Notice what it's like to do a longer, more powerful inhale. And then you can notice what it's like to allow the exhale to dump out, like a wave dumps on the beach. Follow that dumping out like a wave. Follow it with a nice little trickle of air coming out. Pause to reset. Allow the next breath to happen, and then draw it in. So notice that you can add some power Now, the difference between power and force means that you're not pushing or you're not pulling. The breath is quiet, but it's powerful at the same time. So let's now introduce some energy in. So let's eliminate the pause at the bottom and take this into a circle. So drawing it in, letting it go. Now, what's really important about these circles is keep it within your normal breathing range. So it doesn't have to be deep, it doesn't have to be fast. And this is a time where you watch for force. You want power in this, drawing it in, letting it go. Drawing it in, letting it go. Meet any kind of intensity with equal relaxation. Quiet power. No force. Equal relaxation. Keep the breath low in the body. Think about as you're drawing the breath in, really relax your shoulders, relax the upper part of your body. So as you're drawing it in, you're letting it go. Just drawing it in and letting it go. See if you can totally allow the shoulders to drop down, relax the middle of the shoulder blades, and breathe low into the body. Imagine breathing into the ground that you're sitting on, or breathing into the bottom part of your legs, like all the way down to the knees. You can even feel your hands on your thighs, so you can gently just very slightly press into your thighs as you're breathing in. That'll kind of help keep your shoulders down. We're going to build the energy here for 1 more minute, and then we're going to change to a square and we're going to contain the energy. So drawing it in, letting it go. Everyone take a big sigh. We're going to come into the square now. Make a little bit of noise. If you're somewhere where you can make some noise, do another couple of sighs. Make some noise, let some energy out. All right, let's fully exhale for the count of 3. Ready? Exhale. 1, 2, 3. Pause. 1, 2, 3. Inhale. Slow. 1, 2, 3, 4. Pause. 1, 2, 3, 4. Slowly exhale. 2, 3, 4. Push it out. Pause. 2, 3, 4. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Pause. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let the exhale go. Take another sigh, slow. Just a really slow drawing in and then a slow letting go. Draw it in, let it go. Give the body a little bit of a move while you're doing another one of those slow sighs. Roll the shoulders, move the body a little bit, move the neck. And let's settle in here with triangles. So drawing it in for the count of 4, let it go for the count of 4, and pause for the count of 4. Notice as you draw the breath in, relax, open and expand. As you let the breath go, relax even more, let the breath go. And then sit in the pause and keep mentally exhaling in the pause to deepen the relaxation. The triangle should be 4 to 5 seconds in, 4 to 5 seconds out, and a 4 to 5 second pause. Now trust your body to breathe. So breathe easy, no pattern, no shape. Bring it into a comfortable breath. It could still be a triangle or it could be a circle. Whatever it is for you. Just notice the nice smooth transition between the inhales and exhales. Notice that you may be able to take a really small breath and still be satisfied. Bring your awareness to your exhales and just begin to put a little bit of power on your exhales, pushing the air out a little bit. equal amount of power to the inhales. Bring it back into a circular pattern. With your exhale, double the length of your exhale through pursed lips, like you're blowing out a candle. Very gentle. Good, keep it moving. And again, take a big double, triple inhale, silent sigh. And just have a little bit of a stretch. Stretch the body, move the neck, open the jaw. And again, just come back to breathing easy while you move. And then just sit by yourself, just for the count of 5. And just breathe easy for the count of 5. And that completes the session. If you have got any thoughts or comments, you can put them in the chat, and also I'll hand over to Angie. I think we'll take some questions, and Angie's going to wrap up with some things.
Well, how are you feeling now, first of all? So when I checked in with you before on your battery life, you put some numbers in there. How are you feeling now? What's the number that's coming up for you now after just taking, how long was that, Shane? You're muted.
It was just under 20 minutes.
Okay, fabulous. Good. So Helen, you went from 3 to 7. Awesome. Dawn, 8 to 9. Jen could not stop yawning the whole session. Mm-hmm. Yes, we'll talk about that. Simon from 5 to 8. Amazing. Siva, I feel wonderful, very relaxed. 9. Marja, amazing. I feel light and breezy. Fabulous. My mom, hi mom. Elin says, ready to go to sleep. I'm so relaxed. Yes. Helen, I found my body tended to want to hold my breath a lot. Yes, we can talk about that. So Jen, you went from 4 to 7. Louise, you feel awesome. Elena, relaxed very much. My throat is very dry and I feel a 7. That's good. So it looks like everybody has had a significant shift from their number from before the session to after the session. And here's the thing, it's 20 minutes that you, like what we said at the beginning of the webinar, when you can break the rhythmic cycle of life that you're in, step away from business as usual, take 20 minutes for yourself, you all of a sudden feel better. And, you know, you'll have a better sleep tonight if you're in Europe. If you're here in Australia, you'll have a more clear, more focused day, less like what Shane mentioned at the beginning of it, less adrenalized, where you're able to complete more, get just as much done, but taking less effort to do it.
Now, also notice that the number shifts will also be directly related to how we mentioned at the start, that the body chemistry changes. So what you're noticing now is, because think about it like in singing, you've gone through the scales in music. You've moved your breath around, and it will, while it will take some parts out of balance, when it returns and it responds. That's why you get these sensations of a shift, of feeling different. So that's what's actually happening with the body chemistry.
Great. So Shane, what I'll get you to do is, can you stop there, share screen? I'm just going to share mine.
Yep, got it.
Cool. So here's what I want to show you, your battery life. So this is you now, and this is you in the future. So where you are now, left to drift in feeling, 3, 4, and 5, You're heading towards the future where you're drifting into what we call exploration. So it's really important to be able to take the time for ourselves to recalibrate and shift energy. And you can do it as little as 3 minutes. And this is what we teach. So when you can shift your number that you feel from a 3 to a 7, like you did in this session, imagine where you're going to head to in the future, heading towards a more inspired life, more clear, focused, and creating what it is that you want for yourself. So the question that I would ask you is, where do you want to be in the future? And what do you need to do now to get yourself there?
The other thing that's really important about that is look at the curve on the inspired and look at the curve on the expired, and what you'll notice is back at now, if you leave it into the future, look at the jump you have to make from expired to inspired. Like that's a large gap. But if you come back to now, and this is kind of where Angie and I sit, is if you're doing something now about it, then you're definitely going to put yourself on the curve that you want to be on, which is the inspired curve. And that's really the story here, is taking action for yourself and doing something now.
And to lead an inspired life takes doing something that you don't normally do. So what Shane said at the beginning of the event, like Shane and I guard our stress levels like our life depends on it, because it does. And that's why we wear these glasses, and people ask them, why do we wear them? They're very cute, like rose-colored glasses. Well, they protect our eyes from the lights that are shining in our face during work events. So we take these extra measures and do things that not everybody else does, because we feel that we lead a life that not everybody else does, because we enjoy the energy it takes to create this life. Great. So I'll take some questions in just a moment, and I'd like to go through and do this as well. But while I'm here, I'm going to drop a link to schedule a strategy call for us. If you notice that there was some tension in your breathing, or you want to create a practice, or there's some members that are on here right now where maybe you might need a little bit of more guidance on how to take your practice to the next level, book in a call with me, and let's have a talk about it, and I'll get you set up on the right track for how to create a regular practice to live that inspired life.
The other thing too is, if you're on here and you know someone else who probably would benefit from being on here, you can have them reach out, or you can introduce them to this. The recording will be available. We'll be doing these webinars again, so feel free to invite people that you think will be a good fit. For us to come on here, have the experience, and possibly look at establishing a practice. So, that's just another way that that we can spread the work that we're doing, and also find those people who have been struggling with, why is this happening to me? Why do I do this? Why do I do that? And it may be that they have some dysfunctional breathing happening.
So I'd like to go and now take some of these questions here, because I think there's some really great points. So Jen was talking about she couldn't stop yawning the whole session, and that's really important. Shane, I'm sure you can kind of fill in a little bit more. The yawning is a sign of the parasympathetic nervous system kicking into gear, which means that you're probably walking around adrenalized most of the day. So when you can stop and breathe, the yawning will come in and show you just how adrenalized you are. So the more yawning you're doing, the more adrenalized you most likely are.
So that's the aspect of yawning from a physical point of view. From a mental and emotional point of view, notice if you're resisting yawning. If you're resisting yawning, because yawning is pleasurable, and if you're resisting things that are pleasurable, then that's a place to start looking for. That will play out in your life. So, it's a really good thing to notice. If you were yawning, take the opportunity to bask in the pleasure of it. I know that when I have 6 or 7 yawns in a row when I'm doing a breathing session, I enjoy it. It really stretches the body. It opens everything up. So, I think that we've been told that yawning's rude, or that it means that you're bored and all that. You know what? We get told a lot of things by a lot of people who don't know a lot. And it's happening a lot in the world right now. So, you know, it will do you well to really start to begin to understand what your body does, how it does things, and be intuitive with your body as well. Your yawning's an intuitive thing, and you know, Angie and I have always said that when you bring your ego and intuition together through breathing, then you have a much it's a much more enjoyable life, I believe. So I hope that
Mm.
answered that question. Who was the question from? It was from Jen. I hope that answered the
Yeah,
question.
yeah.
So
And Helen was talking about she wanted to hold her breath a lot during the session, which the good thing about Shane and I, you're probably
mm,
going to get like two different answers or similar but different perspectives. So for me, my experience of when I want to hold my breath, it's what I'm comfortable doing, which means that you probably hold your breath a lot during the day, which means there might be, you're probably, if that's a habit for you, it's creating a big chemical gas exchange imbalance throughout the day. And this is a breathing habit, a dysfunctional breathing habit that needs to be broken, so to speak.
how are you with control, Helen? Are you control freak? Yep.
Well, we all
Me
have an
too.
aspect of
Yeah,
it.
we all have it. Yeah. So you often find that if you want to hold your breath, it plays out in control, right? Like it's a learnt habit. You know, you abort the exhale. You know, you snap. You might not know it, but you're taking the next breath. That kind of stuff is, you know, is look, it's steeped in things like fear and anxiety, and you know, we know that we all have this in us, so it shows up in your breathing. So it's just giving you clues. It's giving you clues as to what's happening in your breathing, and you know, practicing letting go of your exhale, practicing allowing the breathing to happen is also going to help you to cultivate allowance in your life, and allowance is the antidote for control. And you know, there's a lot of clues there for you, and it's a, you know, take it as a slow process. You don't have to rush it. You can just continue the work that you're doing, and you're going to eventually relinquish the control, and things will start to flow in your life.
So if that's one thing that you focus on, it's just being consciously aware of when you're holding your breath and trying to control and where you can let things go.
So
So yeah,
Simon
Simon, go
was
ahead.
the relation. Yeah, okay.
What, let me read it out.
Yeah,
So what's
okay.
the relationship between square, triangle, and circle?
Mm.
And he says, look forward to the upcoming sessions. He needs a breathing caffeine shot in the morning, which, by the way, we do have a breathing caffeine shot in the breathing
You got
studio.
a shot of coffee
So
in there.
we do have a shot of coffee. So you've got that access to that now.
So here's the how do I put this? It's more. I think, Simon, this is more a question of having something mental to do while you're establishing a breathing practice. Um, what really regulates your breathing is the in and out. Pretty much your inhale, exhale, and the pause are the things that chemically regulate your breathing. So to have a shape allows you just to have something to focus on. That being said, you know, what you're doing in those shapes is you're changing that in-out pause ratio. So you know, you might find that when you do the square breathing, it helps you balance the gases out because you're controlling the pause at the top of the bottom. That can have an effect on balancing your O2 and CO2 in your body. And you know, you'll notice with the triangle breath that there's this comfortable pause at the bottom. That's almost mimicking what your natural breathing rhythm would be. And then the circular breathing is probably the one that's not so natural. However, circular breathing often will mimic, you know, what you do when you work out. You know, working out, you'll have this constant cycling of breath. So it's not the relationship between those is purely, I think, for me, is just purely a visualization of the breathing pattern so that someone has something to follow along with. That being said, when you do put certain shapes in certain say certain sequences, you get a certain reaction and feeling from them as well. You know, if you end on a circle, you're gonna end on feeling energized. If you end on a square or a triangle, you're gonna end feeling you know, more relaxed. So there are certain ways that they actually fit in, but we use them mainly just to guide the breathing along. Hopefully that answered your question.
Yep,
There's a
cool.
question there from Dom, which is a really,
Oh,
really
yep.
great question on
We'll come back to you, Louise.
yeah, on chemically speaking, like which is better, nose or mouth breathing. So, um, great question. Totally, the nose breathing is far more superior when it comes to any type of breathing. There's a number of different things when it comes to that. One, it engages the diaphragm way more. The nose is shaped to push the air to the bottom of the lungs and to engage your diaphragm while you're breathing. There's also a whole lot of receptors in the nose that help, condition the air. It helps with also conditioning the air as it comes in. So through the nose, you get a better mix of the different gases that are in the air. So, you've got nitric oxide in the air. You've got some other gases in there that the body does use. It regulates carbon dioxide better when you breathe through the nose. So, chemically speaking, breathing through the nose is far more superior when it comes to it.
So specifically, he was asking about breathing in through the nose, out through the mouth, or in through the nose and out through the nose.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. So to clear that up, because what we've found when we've gone through breathing is that sometimes people aren't used to breathing through their nose. And it's like a muscle that you've got to build up. Some people kind of feel like, oh, it makes me stuffy, or they're not used to it, or they need to actually hold their nose open, which can often help is just by putting your fingers on your face will often open that up. And until you're comfortable with it, it can also bring up, if you've got dysfunctions in your breathing, if you breathe through your nose, some people can feel like they're getting claustrophobic, or, it's not enough air and things like that. So what we recommend initially when people are breathing, and to be the blanket standard, is we recommend in through the nose, out through the mouth. We just recommend that as a standard, but as you would have noticed in the session, I then also said to people that you can in and out through the nose is obviously more superior. So that's if you can breathe in and out through the nose, do that and practice and bring it to that. There are times when we get into the more advanced breathing, there are times where you do breathe through your mouth. When you really want to rev up your energy, when your gases are in balance and you're feeling confident in your breathing, and you want to do a breathing session, like a shamanic style breathing session, or a really heavy circular, you can do those kind of sessions through the mouth as well, and they will raise a lot of energy in the body. So there's different tools that you use. And that will have you breathe through different channels, whether it's through the mouth or through the nose. So allowing the air to come out through the mouth does off ventilate more CO2 as well. So just know that. So you will be off ventilating, depending on the channel. So again, it's just, we use it as a standard. But it's not you guys can, if you're used to breathing, do it that way. If you're new to breathing, try it this way, and then find the way that works for you best.
And Louise, I think she had to jump off and go to an appointment, but she said she'd like to know more about breathing in yoga and what's the correct way.
Right. Yeah.
That's a deep answer, I think.
I upset yogis when I say this stuff. You can be very dogmatic with breathing, very dogmatic. Breathing mechanically is in-out pause. That's it. It really is. Mechanically, that's what it is. So what I would say is anything that you do, hang on, excuse me. Practicing breathing and getting good at in-out pause will enhance any other breathing practice that you do. There is some absolute magic and gold in the yogic tradition. I've read many books. I've practiced pranayama. I've practiced alternate nostril breathing for months and months and months. For time and time again early in the morning, to notice what happens when you are switching the channels and how that affects. And it's profound. It is. And at the same time, I'm not a fan of you have to do it this way and this is the only way you can do it. And often you'll find with a lot of disciplines that's what's taught. It's very, very rigid. So you know, it's we're bringing a fresh perspective to breath work and to breathing in general. You know, that's my Angie and my mission is to do that. So that's you know, hopefully that answered that for Louise.
Hmm.
Um,
I'll contact her, and then I know that we're going a little bit over in the broadcast today, so we understand if you do have to go, but we'll keep
Angie,
going through some of these
Angie,
questions.
if people want to
I
leave,
know.
they'll leave. Like,
I
let's,
just
yeah.
letting you know. Good. So Dom said, that's great. Very excited to learn more about it. Love the balance
Good.
involved. Yes. Ziva had a good question. You started with a triangle, followed by a circle, then a square. Is that the preferred order?
Yes. So here's what I've
Good
noticed.
question.
Yeah, it's a great question. What I've noticed is that um, there's a couple of things. If I have a group of people that I don't know when I breathe with them, I like to set the base first, right? And set the base, and triangles, for me, the triangle breath does that. It sets that base. From that base, you can then take them up into raising energy in the body with the circle. Once you've done a circle breath, I find personally I like to contain the energy with a square, because it helps sort of like contain it. And if you have the same experience as I do when you breathe, when you get into that square after you've been doing circles, you get a very like euphoric type of it's like a pulsing through the body, and then that is super enjoyable. Like
You can
it's
feel the
very
relaxation
it's very
oozing.
pleasurable, right? Because it's shifting the consciousness, and then ending on the triangle allows you to just end in. And you would have noticed that I went into slow circles at the end, and that kind of brings people back up. So I like to drop them in, bring them up, and then drop them out the other side. And that's kind of, again, it's a great question, because that, again, you're seeing why we use the shapes to do that, because it's very easy. Very easy for someone then to make up their own combinations, or for someone to take people through the breathing and have a very simple matrix to be able to take people through that. So that's hopefully that answers your question. Thank
Cool.
you.
Awesome. Jen, I can't believe I skipped over this because this is so good. This is something that I've had experience with. She said, thank you. It took a while to get the breath down to my belly. It kept getting stuck into my ribs. Now,
Oof.
Shane might share another perspective, but for me, what I noticed is I unconsciously have a tendency to hold on to my pelvic floor and to my belly. And it's almost like bracing for impact, almost like walking around, holding on, very masculine, sort of forceful energy. But when I started breathing, I started realizing I couldn't get a good breath because I was holding onto my pelvic floor and I was holding onto my belly. So I could not breathe very well at all. So once I started catching, I started relaxing, like consciously pushing the belly out and consciously relaxing the pelvic floor. And like what Shane said, gave the prompt in the middle of the session to breathe into the seat, where you start releasing a lot of the tension in the lower part of the region of the body, and it starts to free up some energy as well and a better breath.
Here's a couple of things that you can do, Jen. Lying down on the ground takes the load off your diaphragm. It reduces the load on your diaphragm by up to 70%. So lying on your back, breathing helps you establish a really good diaphragmatic rhythm. So you know, that's what you can do. Is to lie on your back will help you with that. The second thing is, if you do have the diaphragm will hold on to a lot of fear, and it's related to jaw tension, and it's related to you being off center. So if you feel like you're being pulled in different directions in your life, if you feel like you're being pulled off your life's purpose, you'll often find that can manifest in diaphragm tightness and things like that. And often what will happen then is you have the knock-on effect of that creating a breathing dysfunction that puts your chemistry out of balance, that causes you to have crappy thoughts, and that causes you to breathe in a dysfunctional way. It causes more tightness in the diaphragm, and it goes around and round and round. So they're often really good areas that you can identify. If you've identified that you've got that stuck in your diaphragm, it's a really great time to go to work on that. And lying down will be the first thing. If you do lying down, you know, deep diaphragmatic breathing, that's going to help you start to work that out.
Mm.
I think we have in the breathing studio, you know, we have some exercises in there
Yeah,
around, you
we're
know,
releasing them this week.
putting books on your belly and things like that. You know, there it's an oldie but a goodie. You know, that one, so that you start to understand the when your mind is watching your diaphragm move while you're breathing, then that actually starts to make the body mind link. You know,
Getting
you
in
start to
sync.
get that forge, that synchronization. Yeah,
Mm.
cool.
So,
And
good.
Elena was saying, you switching from nose to throat breathing. Yeah, that's um,
Are you talking
when.
about breathing in through your nose, like in your throat, like a ujjayi breath? Is that?
Yeah, hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Nice to meet you, see you. Yeah, I'm like nose, and then I start.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, like the ujjayi,
Like a combination. Yeah,
yeah.
like a
I
combination.
like that. That's my comfort zone is
Very advanced, Elena. Like it's advanced. You know, how I learnt that was that the tip of your tongue sits very comfortably at the back of the bottom of your teeth, and you create that space in the back of your throat, and you can feel it coming in through your nose and also in through. You can get it in and out through. So it's when you start to get finessed with your breathing and you start to do that, that becomes a natural way that you breathe, and it's probably the most efficient way to
Okay.
breathe when you're doing it. Definitely is,
Yeah.
but it's again, it's an advance. It's getting very dexterous with the movement of your tongue and things like that. But funnily enough, in the ancient cultures, the movement of your tongue has a lot to do with your cognition. Like when you get very good with the subtle movement of your tongue and your breathing, it really is really good for your cognition as well. So they're more advanced,
mm.
you know, things when it comes to breathing. But yeah,
Yeah, and if you start paying attention to tongue movement, I notice that sometimes I'll go to my tongue at the top of my mouth, which is kind of like a suckling sensation if you think about it, and I feel like it's like I'm holding on to energy, but then when I drop the tongue down into the lower and then just relax into that throat breath, it opens up space in the throat region, it feels
mm,
like, and activates like some brain functions. So
mm.
have a play with that. That's great.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Helen says, can you please talk a bit more about breathing and flexibility and movement? Ooh,
Yeah.
yes.
Really interesting part of it, you know, when you learn to time your breathing in with movement and flexibility, you start to get this double sensation, and the double sensation is that as you're in a say a stretch position and you breathe, you're getting the fascia to stretch, because as you breathe in that stretched movement, it's kind of like you're getting this different angle of stretch in the body. So we encourage people a lot, and again, in the breathing studio, we have some movement videos, and often we'll do I call it a breath work session, where we'll do, you know, movement. You kind of get a workout while you're doing the breathing, and I've seen that it accelerates people's flexibility. Like, you know, I had one client that said he's done years and years and years of yoga, and then in 2 sessions he was able to touch the ground, that we were doing the breathing and flexibility, because also there's this subtleness between connecting the breath and your mind to what you're mentally holding on to versus what you're physically holding on to. And you'll find that flexibility in the body, there's a large percentage of it that's mental. Like if you think about it, there's no reason that your body gets rigid, but when your body gets rigid, your mind gets rigid, and vice versa. When your mind gets rigid, your body gets rigid. And so they're interconnected.
Does that answer your question? Cool. All right. Awesome. I think that's it. Simon did say, what makes your glasses so groovy, Shane?
You'll have to get some, Simon. You'll
You
see that.
will. If you sit in front of lights or computers or devices during the day, this is what we use to help. It like what Shane said at the beginning, you know, it disrupts your vitamin D, it disrupts your circadian rhythm. So anytime we're in false lights or in front of electronics, we always are wearing these. Think of it like, welder's glasses, to save us from the intensity of false light.
Just also like, just for right now, with everything that's going on the planet, your vitamin D and your vitamin A
And
are
C.
the very things that are keeping everyone's immune system bolstered. And, it's a very big topic right now because everyone's running around not taking notice of their immune system, so it goes in with that, it protects your vitamin A and vitamin D, and they're really two of the biggest building blocks right now for your immune system. Well, not right now, they always have been, but they're in focus right now.
I'll drop a link in that because we're live streaming this on the Breathing Edge Facebook group. So if you're in there, catch the live stream. I'll drop a link on where you can get your own glasses with like 10% off.
And if you guys aren't in the Facebook group, you go ahead and join in the Facebook group because we're in there often, and we're talking about this stuff. We released a product called Superhuman Habits where we talk about sunlight, we talk about grounding, bringing it out into the open, and so that it's not in this kind of relegated to the woo-woo kind of stuff. It is very much steeped in science, in provable science. So that's the and it's very relevant right now.
Helen says she got her blue blockers last night and she's like, totally love the Superhuman Habits.
Cool.
Awesome. Glad you're enjoying it. Cool. Well, thank you guys. If you don't have any other questions, we're going to be here again. Same bat channel, same bat time next Saturday. So if you want to join us for another breathing session, another Q&A, join us again, and have an amazing sleep or have an amazing day, depending on where you are in the world. Simon will access the breathing studio with different link. I'm signed up. Yep. I'll send you a personal message. Simon, I'll make sure that you get everything sorted. Cool.
Right.
And booking, if you want to create that practice or jumpstart that practice, make sure that you jump on a call with me and I'll help get you set up.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Great. Thanks, guys. Have an amazing evening, an amazing day. Keep breathing, and we'll hopefully see you next week. See you guys. Bye for now.